All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Montague Lafitte. I'm the division president at South State Bank here in Columbia, but also have the privilege and honor to serve as this year's chairman of the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. So it's a pleasure to be in that role and a pleasure to have everybody here. A couple of quick announcements before we get started. First and foremost, to the candidates, thank you all for being here. Thank you for the time, effort, and energy, and quite frankly, money you've put into running for school board and for educating young people. I've got 3 kids in Richland, one school district, and certainly understand the importance of what y'all are doing and the importance of what y'all are doing for the community. So thank you for that. Also, a couple other announcements. This is not live streamed, but this is being recorded. This will be posted on various websites, certainly the chamber website and others for viewing. And again, we want this to be educational and informative for those voters in Richland One School District. A couple other thank yous before we get started. Thank you to the League of Women's Voters for your assistance here today. Again, our goal here is to provide education and information for our voters and to hear from the candidates, and let this be an opportunity for the candidates to share their ideas as it relates to education. Again, we know that the decisions that are being made in early voting, which runs through Saturday as well as next Tuesday, November 5th, will have lasting impacts. And that's why it's important for these forums to take place. And that's why it's important for this information to be recorded and placed online in many sources so folks can have access to the information. Again, we know at the chamber, a community is only as strong as its workforce. And in many cases, workforce starts at the school level, not only just in high school, but all the way back to elementary school. And so a strong educational foundation typically leads to a strong community and a strong economy. So again, as the voice of the business community, the chamber stands ready to help you if you have any questions or concerns. But again, we're most appreciative to the League of Women's Voters and again, the candidates for being here today. So at this point of the program, I'm going to turn it over to Cynthia Flynn. She's with the League of Women's Voters, and she's agreed to be our moderator for today's forum. Thank you.
So allow me to add my welcome to you all to the School Board Candidate Forum for Richland School District 1. My name is Cynthia Flynn, the League of Women's Voters in the Columbia area, and I'll be the moderator for this forum. The League is nonpartisan and is interested in helping voters about the candidates as they prepare to vote or longer before you represent. Our purpose this afternoon is to help you inform you, the voters, about Richland School Board candidates and according to the School Boards Association, school boards have 4 roles. 1 is creating a shared vision, 2, applying that vision, 3, measuring and communicating the vision, and 4, working together to champion the vision. The questions were developed by the League that I'll be reading today were developed by the League of Voters, and I will ask all of the questions. So first I'm going to introduce the candidates and then briefly review the roles, the rules for this. So all 11 candidates were invited to this forum. 9 indicated they were going to be here, so we're going to get a few more in maybe this afternoon. 2 people said they could not attend, and so I will read through all the candidate things and see from there. So we have 5 candidates are running for the 2 at-large seats that are. First, we have John Black, Angela Brown, who is not yet here, Angela Clyburn, Richard Moore, and Tamika Myers, who is not yet here. Then we have the election district 2. 4 candidates are running for 2 seats, and that would be Lee Carroll, who could not be here today, Jamie Devine, who told us he would be late, Stephen Diaz, and then Mr. Williams, who apparently is on the way. In election district 4, 2 candidates are running for 1 seat. Cheryl Hinton Harris could not be here today, and Erica Robertson, her seat is Okay, let me talk about the rules. The candidates are seated in alphabetical order by, and then we'll rotate who answers first. This means snake is Byron. We'll go next, and we'll run that way until we get to you. Each candidate will be allowed to respond to every question. A 90-second time limit on each answer will be strictly enforced. We have a timekeeper, Pamela Craig, is very across from y'all. She's a legal voter member. She's going to help the candidates keep track of time. She will do a 30-second warning, a 15-second warning, and then we'll hold up a card that says stop when the 90 seconds are up. In order to get in more questions, we may switch to the 60-second response time. I don't know that we'll do that with these few candidates. After the question is completed, each candidate will have a 1-minute closing statement. Now, the rules are candidates will not be allowed to interrupt one another while they're answering questions. No inappropriate language, name calling, etc. will be allowed, and no time is allotted for rebuttals. Candidates can make clarifications during the time allotted to them in answering the next question. Okay, that said, we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to start right here with Mr. Black. I am not going to repeat the questions every time, but if you need me to repeat them, just ask me and I will do that. Okay, what are the priority issues that led you to run for the school board, and what qualifications and skills do you bring to addressing these issues?
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. My priority issues are, I adopted a special needs child about 3.5 years ago, and I immediately had to get involved in the school because I wanted to ensure that my son was getting the necessary programs and services that he needs. So I became very involved in the school. One thing that I have learned over the last several years is that there's a lot of resources and programs available, but people just don't know about it. I had a decision to make. I've been very supportive and vocal of the district. And I find it disappointing that for people that claim to love the district so much, all they want to do is tear it down. And to me, that was very disappointing. So my decision to run was because I wanted to make a difference, not just for my child, but for other special needs children as well. I've been an advocate, a community advocate for many years, and this would just be a continuation on to bring light to special needs, but not just special needs, but to all children as well. So, thanks.
And you still had 5 seconds.
Well, in that case, thank you.
It's fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Commissioner Angela Clyburn. I sit currently on the School Board of Commissioners in the at-large seat. Initially, I ran in 2020 because I am an advocate of Richland District 1. I'm a parent in Richland District 1, and I'm also a former student in Richland District 1. So I am born into the fabric of Richland 1. I love this district to my core, and I will also always do what I feel is in the best interest of our students, teachers, and families of Richland District 1, and including our stakeholders. So the thing that really called me to run for re-election is for the fact that I see growth in our kids. Is that growth at 100% full speed ahead all day? It is currently not, but we are growing our kids, and that's the most important thing to understand and to realize when making decisions for them. Our teachers, our teacher retention and recruitment is growing as well, and those levels are rising. And our academic achievement is also growing, and we definitely need to continue to invest in all of our areas and all of our students and our classrooms. So I want to continue that in this next term. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Diaz. I am a Marine Corps veteran, Purple Heart recipient, first generation immigrant here to South Carolina. And just like everyone sitting here, I'm a concerned parent. I'm a concerned taxpayer. My son is in second grade at Central Ford, and I have a 2-year-old who soon hopefully will be getting her into some of our food care programs. And I started to realize in doing a lot of this that the studies show that once kids get into the 3rd grade, they're not reading well, they keep getting pushed forward, we're going to have issues. And so that really scared me. I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything that I could in my cluster of schools to be a good leader for him. And we're in a great set of schools, but we have to understand that throughout the district, there are a lot of schools that aren't as blessed as schools like Central Ford. And a lot of those students who are in these other schools are suffering. And the data shows that. It's not that we're putting anybody down or trying to tear anything down, it's those are the facts. And you can't fix something without knowing where you are. And so my background in human resources and financial advisement, I see where are some things that we can fix, which are fiscal transparency. And we have a problem with our HR, and that's something that I'd like to fix. Stephen Diaz, thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Erica Hurst. The priority issues for me in Richland 1 would be, first of all, is accountability. And that is holding the superintendent accountable as well as the board members themselves accountable. If you watch the board meetings, you oftentimes see that the vote is always 5-2. And there's no reason that the vote should always be 5-2. What that tells me is that I feel as though persons are not making decisions on their own or they're going along with the group. And so what I bring to the table is the perspective of someone who has been a student as well as an educator in Richland 1. I graduated from the school, and I also went back to teach at Lower Richland High School as well as Creighton AC4. So I have 28 years experience in education. I've also been a school administrator, assistant principal, and the director of adult education. So I've seen the perspective of those students who were not successful in the K-12 setting. I also have earned degrees from South Carolina State University, the University of South Carolina, and Seton Hall. And so my perspective as a parent, as well as community members, what I'm bringing to the district, so that we can help continue to build on the great things that are happening, but also be aware and cognizant of those areas in which we need to work. We cannot continue to say that everything is going well when we know that there's areas that we need to improve in. And so I want to bring that transparency to the district, to be open and honest with the constituents and the parents, so that we can all move together, move forward together.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Moore, and I said the last time we had a meeting like this in the forum that there are things that I've said over and over again every time that we meet to talk about myself. And those things are things that you can read online or read in my material. And so I wanted to say something just a little bit different and also answer the question. My priority issues this time are pretty much the same as they were the last time I ran, which are student achievement, teacher and staff morale, and the accountability and trust of the community, which has to do with public relations and accountability. I feel like every student in this district should be able to be in a safe, nurturing, effective, challenging environment. And every teacher should have that same opportunity. And they all should be able to be in schools that have that kind of atmosphere. And when I say teachers, I mean teachers and staff. My concern is not that we don't have some of those places where that's happening. My concern is that I don't believe that we are consistently serving all of the students in the district, or consistently helping all the teachers to want to stay where they work, or consistently holding everyone accountable. And so I feel like my expertise, my experience allows me to have what I need to be a part of the board in trying to make sure that that happens.
You can go ahead and repeat the question for Mr. Devine, Mr. Rod. What are the priority issues that led you to run for the school board, and what qualifications and skills do you bring to addressing these issues?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I am James Devine. I am a 16-year incumbent of the Richland School District 1 Board of School Commissioners. I've been around for some time, seen some things, good, bad, and different. However, there are three things that I do want to continue on with in Richland School District 1. First is prioritizing our safety for our young people. I was glad to raise my hand for metal detectors for our young people. Also want to prioritize mental health for our young people as well as our teachers. And then secondly, we want to talk about prioritizing our academic success and our academic achievement. While we do know there's some low scores at some other schools and some high scores at some other schools, we want to continue to personalize and prioritize those different learning environments for young people. And then finally, we want to continue to talk about public school choice. I was one of the persons who first led the charge to have the health sciences program over at St. Johnson High School. We also got two $15 million grants to serve the different schools that needed, for example, the BLAST program, cybersecurity. As many of you know, we have the IB program at AC Florida and different programs at different high schools. And I was glad to participate and raise my hand on that. So with that said, again, prioritize safety, prioritize academic achievement, and prioritize school choice. Thank you.
Okay, well, the next question, we'll start with Ms. Clyburn. What do you see as the key indicators for measuring the Richland School District 1's success?
Well, one key indicator, as I stated in my opening statement, is growth. I believe that, and Commissioner Devine mentioned this in his statement, all children, or each child learns differently. You know, when something that may work for one may not work for the other. So I think it's important to, be able to tailor instruction for children individually if needed. And, when you talk about success and growth, to see those benchmarks being closed, and if you're able to make gains in those areas, I think that is a level of success. Each child should see reward, in what they're achieving and what they're able to accomplish. And in turn, those teachers that are teaching those children, they are rewarded as well when they see the outcome, at the end of the day. And the same with parents and our stakeholders get rewarded when, the product that is coming out of our students is ending up in their workforce. So I think that is something that is very important and something that we need to continue to strive doing so that all of our children have greater opportunities to make better for their lives.
Did you ask that question again?
What do you see as key indicators for measuring the Richland School District 1's success?
So just looking back over the last years I've been on the board, we continue to, again, it's been alluded to, talk about growth. This district will accept young people where they are, and we grow them to their potential and their dreams, as stated in our mission. That is our mission, to grow young people, transform lives so they can meet their potential and their dreams. So the last several years, we've continued to do that. We've seen ebbs and flows. Are we always perfect? No. Is this a large organization? Yes. We cover 500 square miles, 52 different schools, 4,000 students, 4,000 employees, 23,000 students. So those key indicators is going to be community support for the schools, which we see particularly at the school level. Those other indicators are things that I believe as we work together. I'm in a community, matter of fact, I just left a community meeting. That's why I'm late now. And so as we talk to the community talk back to us, we continue to give information. This is a bilateral conversation. It's not a unilateral conversation from me to them or from them to me. We continue to work well. We also have a strategic plan we just approved, 2024 to 2029. So I look forward to implementing that plan. We've had 3 or 4 strategic plans over the last several years. So with that said, I think those are some of the key indicators. Thank you.
I'm a data person. And just recently report cards came out, which can be seen as a measurement of success. So I want you to imagine where you work now. And if you were in charge of 46 areas, we got 46 schools. And if you went back and you told them out of the 46, only 4 of them are good, or only 4 of these products are passing. With us, we're talking about children. So out of the 46 schools, only 4 of those were rated excellent. 17 of those are unsatisfactory or below average, which means that based off of the state measurements, those children are not prepared for college or not prepared for a career. And we were at a forum last week where the incumbent said, well, it's that the metrics and the guidelines are too hard. They're not able to meet them. And in fact, I wasn't able to meet them. So how are they going to be? And I don't want excuses. What I would like to do is get good teachers, qualified teachers in those classrooms, teachers that teach the subject that the kids want to be in, and then give the kids a safe environment. Because there's money out there, and there's money to make sure that there's no mold, there's no rats, there's no bugs, because those are distractions. And that's what we're hearing, and I continue to hear that as I go around into the community. So a measure of success is the report cards that we have, and until we can get these back up, that's when we can make a difference.
I also agree that, we have to, data does not depict everything that we do as a district, but we must pay very close attention to the data. And so the indicators of success for me will be the data academically, but we're also focused on the whole child. So making sure that children are ready academically, socially, and emotionally. And we must also make sure that staff morale is where it needs to be, so that we can have those qualified educators in the building who are capable of teaching our students and moving them to the next level. The main goal and priority of the school district is to educate children. And that's educating them from the time they walk in and preparing them until life after high school. And so we cannot measure the success of our district if we are not focused on measuring academics.
Well, I'd have to agree that the data is important. I also agree that the data doesn't tell us everything. But the problem is, it is what we have to deal with. It's not just test scores. But I think in order to be able to indicate our success, we have to look at what plans and objectives and goals have been put into place. What is it that we're trying to do in each classroom, and then systematically look at the evidence as to whether or not that's happening in each classroom. I think if our test scores increase, then the public trust issues and the accountability and staff members being used to recruit new teachers and new staff members, that problem will solve itself if we're in a situation where children feel like they are learning and parents feel like they're learning, and they can show that in measurable ways. In order to do that, we have to have classrooms where relationships are being built. And I think there has to be some very strategic planning on how each school and each teacher develops those relationships. Children learn what's important to them, or they learn what's important to someone who is important to them. And we need to make sure that every child, whoever it is in the district, has those kind of relationships. And that takes a lot of planning. And I think then you hold the administration accountable for seeing to it that that happens.
So, of course, the natural answer is going to be teacher retention and improved test scores. That's, that's the little fluff piece that we can all say, and I'm sure we all agree on. Problem is how to get there. For instance, talking about test scores, and I'm bringing this up again, but my child is going to bring the test scores down, because the special needs children, they have to take the same test that a non-special ed student takes. There needs to be some kind of advocacy at the state and federal level for there to be some kind of variation of a test or separation of tests for special ed children. If you have a school with a high population of special ed children, the school, no matter how successful the rest of the students are, those special ed students are going to bring those test scores down. That's one thing that we have to bring attention to. We have to focus, and it's about advocacy, and we need to ensure that the parents are aware of the programs and resources available to them that will help their children do better on those tests, because the children are capable of doing it. They just need the help and the resources available so they can actually take the test.
Our third question, Mr. Devine, you would start. Do you have any specific concerns about the current school district administration? If so, how would you address these concerns?
So again, as I stated earlier, are we a perfect organization? No. We're a large organization that's multifaceted, multidimensional, yes. We serve a diverse group of young people. We have many cafeterias, a many restaurant chain. We have a many mail service. We run a major transportation system. We do a lot of things in this community. Do we have those problems or issues? Yes. Are those things that we can work on? Yes. Are those issues we deal with, for example, with the superintendent, deal with him through his contractual matter and through the evaluation process. Anybody below him, we really can't deal with, because he's the CEO of the organization, so he deals with them accordingly. So with the administration, we continue to work with them and continue to provide guidance to him so that he can understand those issues that we may have heard or that we're dealing with as an organization.
One of my specific concerns, and I've in the campaign trail been asked a lot about our superintendent. And last I remember, he was just given a raise. And this is a business community here. Again, if you were in charge of 46 schools and only 4 of them are passing, would you get a raise where you work? Probably not. And when you listen to and watch the board meetings, hopefully y'all are going to these, consistently when he's being asked for measurements, how are you holding someone accountable if he doesn't have or is not held to certain standards, or if he doesn't have measurable goals? This is something that Commissioner Lominack and Commissioner Wesson have asked over and over and over. And they either get a side look or get told things that we won't want to talk about here. And so I know when some people ask me, they kind of, I don't know if they're expecting the answer to say, get rid of him. I come from the business world and human resources world, and people can't hold people accountable if they don't have measurable goals. And that's what he needs to be held accountable.
The question specifically asked about the lead administration. And so my response to that is, we cannot evaluate the superintendent if his evaluation does not have measurable goals. And 2 of the persons on the platform today have been a part of the school board for years. And they're aware that, and you all are aware that if you're measuring someone or evaluating, you must have measurable goals. As a principal, every teacher that did an evaluation, they could not turn in their evaluation for their year or their goals for their year if they were not measurable. So we're still baffled by the fact that the superintendent's evaluation is still not measured. And so as a candidate, one of the first things that I feel needs to happen is that the superintendent must be placed on an evaluation that can be measured. And whatever components are a part of the evaluation, if the goals are not there to measure from where you are to what you're working towards, then you don't have an evaluation system. And so basically the way that we feel now is he's working without a true measuring evaluation, but he does have a contract, and he's still holding teachers and administrators to an expectation that he himself is not being held to.
You know, I've been asked this a number of times also, as says everybody, what are you gonna do? What's happening? I'm the kind of person that I go into a situation understanding that until I'm actually there, I don't have all the details. And in this particular situation, I think that's compounded by the fact that a lot of us don't have all the details because the details are not forthcoming. And I think the issue is that you need to have an equitable system for evaluation that is not only fair, but is handled in a timely and consistent fashion. And I think once the decision is made as to what things we're going to actually look at, and we actually get our hands on that data and get the data that has to do with the goals and the expectations that are set, then you have to make a decision. I do feel like the superintendent has been in the district for quite some time. I do feel like I think that there's probably more progress that could have been made than has been. And I think part of that is because of holding him accountable for the things that have happened in the district. But I've always said that if you work with someone who's there and they are willing to make the kind of changes they need to make in order to be more effective, then I can work with that. But if those changes can't happen and can't happen fast, then we need to make changes in the administration.
So I've said many times in previous forums, at the end of the day, we do not know what we do not know. And we won't find out what we don't know until we get elected and get on that board. Then we will see the reality of evaluations or not. You know, talking about issues with the administration stuff, I find it interesting that nobody's brought up the lawsuits against the school district, even by candidates. A previous lawsuit from candidates. Pending litigation that if elected, they will not drop the lawsuit. In the internal auditor's report, that's very damning, that I've been attacked on for a FOIA that I submitted in January, has now come back and is being used against me to attack another candidate in a race I have no part in and have no skin in that particular race. But I'm being attacked for a FOIA request that I submitted in January, and my personal information is going out there. I'm getting text messages, I'm getting DMs, I'm getting harassment for stuff that had nothing to do with me, but it's damning against the candidate for what the candidate was found guilty of doing. Well, I'm just gonna leave it there, because the information is now public out there.
So, the question was, concerns that we may have about our superintendent. I'll say this, one challenge that I can say is that the focus is being taken off of children. It's being taken off of our kids. And when that takes place, that means the ball is bouncing all over the place, or could be bouncing all over the place. I feel that, we as a board, and this comment was made earlier about why is it always a 5-2 vote? I know I can speak for myself personally, I always have my mind on the kids. Now, when it becomes personal, I don't know whether the two, typically that vote in opposition of, furthering what we need to have, that our kids need, that our children need, the resources that our parents are getting because of decisions that the 5 supposedly are making on a regular basis. If we're guilty of looking out for our children and for our teachers and our parents and our stakeholders and community, then it will continue to be a 5-2 vote. But otherwise, if the two want to continue to oppose certain things, like an early childhood learning center, which is totally opposite of what would work for our kids to create the foundation needed to be successful, then it will continue to be 5-2.
Okay, the fourth question, Mr. Diaz, will start. How do you propose to retain veteran teachers and recruit new teachers?
Yeah, so coming from an HR background, and I've said this in multiple forms, it's difficult it's difficult to focus on retention and bringing new teachers on when we have a revolving door, when teachers are afraid to speak up, when teachers are moved 45 days into the year, and done in such a callous way that it ended up backfiring because some of those teachers ended up leaving. And if we are not being considerate and compassionate with our teachers, why would they want to come here? And again, I got criticized the last couple of forums for being negative, but it's trying to figure out where we are now to move on and be positive and be able to do great things. And so to me, I would like to really take a deep dive into our HR process because we still have some vacancies and some that are incredibly important. Mr. Black was talking about the special needs we have. Unless there's some information I don't know, we still have plenty of positions available that can help out in the mental health space and the special ed space. And that's something that we need to tackle. But if we become a revolving door,
Richland One will not be able to retain quality teachers until the morale and the environment of the schools change. Teachers principals lead the buildings and the superintendent leads the district. And when employees constantly go to work and talk about, they feel as though they're being harassed by certain people, or they're being forced or asked to do things that do not relate to the school district, or activities or things that relates to another organization that is not affiliated with Richland School District 1, then people will leave. And so in order for us to recruit quality teachers, we first must have to make changes from within. And once that's done, our best seller will be teachers themselves. If you're happy working in an environment where you are, you're going to automatically tell others about it and begin to bring more people in. Once we clean up the inside and we have environments where people feel free to go to work and be themselves and not worry about looking over their shoulder or getting in trouble for something at the last minute or being asked to do something at the last minute, then we can begin recruiting additional educators from some of the colleges and building on the current partnerships that we do have to bring in some of those student teachers and keep them in Richland One. Even though we offer early contracts, if those contracts are not followed through, then we still do lose some of those student teachers. And so let's clean up the inside and then begin to be our own best salespersons within the district.
I too would say that our best recruiters are our principals and teachers and other staff members who work in an environment where they want to come to work. Personally, I feel that the key to all of that is the time and effort made or that we put into being very strategic about who we place into leadership positions at the schools. I was a principal at Brennan Elementary School for 15 years. I was a principal at Logan Elementary for 15 years. And not to put a big point on it, but people wanted to come and teach for me. And people who came stayed. And I think part of that is an understanding that the principals can make a huge difference in the atmosphere at the school, which makes a huge difference in the morale, which helps build those relationships that are essential for children to achieve. So I really feel like we need to spend as much time as we can looking for those leaders that can create those kinds of schools, and then have them and their teachers be a part of that recruitment process. We've got we got people to recruit from, and I know that retention is not a problem just for our district, but everywhere. But we need to be able to recruit them and then hang on to them by having them feel like that they're in a safe, nurturing, challenging, and effective environment.
Ms. Williams has arrived, and I will repeat the question again. How do you propose to retain veteran teachers and recruit new teachers?
Okay, so, and you all have to excuse me, I've been working all day and they ran that news story and there were some people that were wanting to talk to me about my campaign and I got, set behind, but I'm here. In terms of retention, so in every organization, we know there are good things that are going on. and there are some things that need improvement. And so I think we're there with teacher retention with District 1. There are some teachers that, I would be remiss to say that every teacher in District 1 hates their job. Every teacher does. There are some needs of improvement, but the reality is. So we gotta start from somewhere if we're wanting to go up. If we're at baseline and we want to go up, what do we need to do? We need to look at, I'm glad I looked down, we need to look at what teachers we have, as Mr. Moore said, that we can utilize to do what? To be the faces of the district. Being in the military, we recruit soldiers all the time. So where do we start? We start with those faces of people that we can utilize to attract more people into the profession. Teachers need mentors. Teacher salary. Morale and environment is also important, but we have to utilize the faces that we have to attract more teachers into the profession. Also, a supportive administration does matter. Going around to the classrooms, ensuring that teachers have the support they need. That's it. How many minutes do we have for the question?
90 seconds.
90 seconds. Okay, I got it. I did.
So the comment was made that the district is a revolving door. No, and that's interesting because based off of the report that just came out on the report card, according to it, the teachers returning, percent of teachers returning from the previous year increased from 77.5% to 83.7%. So obviously, the revolving door has stopped or at least slowed down. You know, teachers are on the front line. They are the ones, they know what they need, they know the resources that they need to teach our children. And they need to have more support. They need to have whatever resources they are possible for them to get so that they can do their job. We shouldn't be waiting for the administration, the school board, the administration to trickle down dictators of what they should be doing in the classroom. The teachers need the freedom to collaborate amongst each other. The ones that have successful programs that's going on, that needs to be shared amongst the teachers so they can work together because they know what's best for our students. And it's not necessarily the administration or the school board. Our focus should be on the students, but we need to focus on what's right for the students. And what's right for the students is having teachers that bring the classroom to a good job.
All right, thank you so much. So in order to attract veteran teachers and to retain veteran teachers, the district is already doing a number of things towards that. And one of the things is making a package attractive. And one of those things is when we have retiring teachers to come back, we allow them a flexible schedule to set their schedule and, you know, to make sure that it fits their needs, what they have, you know, going on in their lives with their families. But we want to have these teachers back because they're experienced. You know, the students have gotten to know them in a lot of areas, and hopefully they'll be able to go back to some of those same schools where they're familiar. And, you know, the statement, you know, was made in a previous candidate forum that was made public in a school board meeting. So, you know, I feel like if you're running for this office, you should know and be knowledgeable of our current status of our vacancies. It was reported that our vacancies were at 95. That wasn't true. It was half that amount. Our vacancy is at now 45, and it's continuing to trend downward. And our retention is going up. We have something called public professional learning centers, where our teachers are able to collaborate with our administration, and they do learning walks to, you know, make sure what we're doing is working. So thank you so much.
You asked the question last time.
How do you propose to retain veteran teachers and recruit new teachers?
So let's start with where we are. So about 30% of our teachers retire every year. About 15% get promoted or move within the district. Then the other remaining, for various reasons, leave the organization, for whatever reason. So in order to retain them, Mr. Black has already stated the number. We continue to increase that number. One is we have a very competitive salary. I'm happy to say that Richland has one of the most competitive salaries in the local area, well throughout the state. Number two, we do provide climate and culture in our schools. We have rooms where teachers can take a break. We do different food vendor trucks to come to different schools. And then to recruit those teachers, what we gotta understand is that young people aren't going to education like they used to. The baby boomers are retiring. There's not a pipeline of young people coming to us. So with that said, we know we have to do some things differently than we've done in the past. So we look forward to having our young people, I think about 60 this past year, sign agreements with us so that they can come back and teach after 4 years of undergraduate. We work with our young people for our student teachers to get paid along the way. So those are just some of the recruiting tools that we've done thus far. In addition to that, we also provide stipends for them for tuition reimbursement as well. Thank you.
Percy, how would you propose that the board handle contentious issues brought before them by the public at the board meeting?
The current public input system now, the way it stands, is though people come in and express a variety of issues. However, the response is always the same. In my opinion, the board members themselves or a team should go back and actually look at the issues that are being presented to the board and address them in a specific manner. Even though you may not be able to resolve everything that the public is asking, when you send them a form letter, please send them a form letter that is not just the same one that you would have gotten if you came and spoke 2 weeks ago or a year ago. Make it tailored so that they will know that someone is going to actually follow up with them. And even if they can't within that time frame, send a letter, but then follow up after that letter. Because right now you get that one response and then you get nothing else.
Could you repeat the question, please?
How would you propose that the board handle contentious issues brought before them by the public at the board meeting?
Contentious doesn't just apply to the people who are bringing the issues, it can also apply to board members themselves. And I think we need to be responsive to things that are brought to us. I think Dr. Hersey makes a good point that we need to have a system for getting back to those people who bring concerns to us with some specifics about what's going to happen or what can't happen or whatever to help them understand that they are heard. I think we also have to be very careful as board members to express ourselves to each other in a professional manner, because we are examples not only to the people who are at the board meeting, but to the students of the district, the teachers of the district, and the community, as how you can disagree in a manner in which allows you to agree to disagree if that's what you have to do. And I think we have to continue to consider that what we want to do is work towards a consensus that will allow us to move forward. Not always a win-lose situation where one group loses or one group wins every time. And hopefully the times that you have to take a vote in which that situation comes up should be very rare, because you need to work towards consensus in order to make progress towards doing what's best for children. And I've done a lot of that in my years as a principal, and I feel like I have something to offer in helping that to happen on the board.
If I'm elected on the school board, I believe that every concern is important. You all heard the other candidates talk about follow through. Follow through is important, and documentation of that follow through is also important. If the school board is responding to concerns, having that system in place that we have responded. Also, it's very important that school board members inform the public about the truth about a lot of things, because you have particular groups that are inciting or trying to make, and this is in every branch of government, make certain issues bigger than what they are. So if I'm elected on the school board, I'm gonna let the community know the behind the scenes information. Because let's take the issue of banning books. A lot of times there are political agendas behind that issue. that the community may not be thinking about, to make that issue into something that is really not a big issue. So we gotta have people that are not sold out to the left or sold out to the right, but making sure that the community has the correct information they need so that they can make the best decision regarding their children in schools and not on a roller coaster ride of political agendas. So I believe that every response is important and that there should be town hall meetings, there should be accurate information that's put out in the community so that we have a community that really understand what is going on.
So I think one thing that's important is getting rid of the letter. If you come to the school board and you have an issue or a concern, someone should be following up with you. Someone that can figure out what the problem is and help find a solution to the issue that you're having. Not just a letter. I've got plenty of these little letters and I could put them side by side and they're pretty similar. But at the end of the day, you know, I think some of the contentious issues that come before the board can be rectified if, as something that I propose and I would advocate for, every report that is presented to the administration and to the school board for review, a duplicate report is made that is released publicly at the same time it's sent to the board members. Of course, with proper redactions and confidential information, stuff that can't be shared. But at the same time, if it's released at the same time, then you're solving a transparency issue and you could potentially have less contentious issues that are coming before the board. And if you get rid of just a standard letter response and you give the issue to someone to address and reach out to, then that will help things going down the road.
The way I believe contentious issues that come before the board publicly should be handled is to make sure everyone has a voice, everyone is heard. It's important that our teachers, our people in various roles in the district, students and parents, and community leaders and stakeholders need to have a place at the table, and that place is the public part of our board members, board meetings, public participation. And at times, some of those responses need to be handled with care because there may be some sensitive issues involved. That's why we have a legal department that handles, any kind of personal data or information not getting out, or if it needs to be communicated in a certain way. We have a team that handles that. So it can be handled appropriately to not have any lawsuits or anything like that happening. But, with that said, any issue that comes up, we have a department more than likely that can address those issues, that can attend to those issues, and it needs to be followed up on and taken care of, case by case basis.
The school board makes a number of decisions every second and fourth Tuesday. That's what we meet. And then we also meet on first and third Mondays or Tuesdays or Wednesdays for committee meetings. So with that said, during my time on the board, I can tell you we make at least 300 plus decisions every year. Do 10 decisions times 30 meetings per year, at least 300 decisions. Out of that, I would venture to say 90 to 95% of those decisions are 7-0 or unanimous votes. 7-0 or unanimous votes. So when we talk about contentious issues, whatever they may be, we have to continue to work together. We have a parliamentary procedure where the parliamentarian and the chairperson work together to make sure that every voice is heard at least 2 times before a decision is made. Then once the decision is made, majority rules, and we have to move on to the next board meeting. And what we will continue to do in the future is do just that, is continue to make those decisions. Some folk will like it, some folk won't, we understand that, but that's part of democracy. That's why we have the form of government that we do have. Because as a school board member, we are quasi-traditional, we're legislative, and we also executive. So with that said, we'll continue to work together as a board, because as one board member, we don't have any power, but as a collective of 4 or more, that's where the power lies. Thank you.
Okay, this question is from Moore to start.
I would,
Mr. Diaz. Oh, I'm so sorry.
as much as I'd like to.
Hiding.
Thank you. First, I think we need to get the internal auditor back into the board meetings. So if you're watching the same meetings and read the same reports that I'm watching, he was asked to not be in the board meetings, was also asked to not put reports in writing. My HR radar says those are red flags. So we need to get that individual back. And a lot of the reports there was then to give that to the ombudsman. And again, we don't know what we don't know, but I would say that is the incorrect way of doing it. Then when Dr. Witherspoon came on, he started to do town halls, and he made the mistake for the Title I funding and got called out on it and was asked if he would resign. I don't think he's ever done another town hall. We need to bring those back to let the community be able to speak their mind, their issues, to be able to have a good relationship with them. And then we have community members, again, if you watch some of the same meetings, Mr. Scott Barber, who comes up, and I believe his heart's in the right place, who continuously asks questions. And I hear the frustration in his voice where he says, I've asked questions over and over and over, and it's not getting a response. And so these are things that we need to take care of. And I agree with Mr. Black, the letter that people get, it needs to be more than that. So that's how we would handle contentious issues.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Moore. How do you balance resources to ensure equal opportunity for quality education at all schools in the district?
That's a tough question, and we have that same question as principals when we're looking at classrooms and what needs to happen in different classrooms. Every child has their own set of needs. I have said several times since this all started that, you know, we spend a lot, we can all relate to the fact that we spend some time during the summer giving school supplies to kids and packing them in backpacks for them to take to school. And every one of those children that has a backpack also has a backpack that you can't see that's got their personal resources in it. And some of them are nice and fat and overflowing, and some of them are very thin. And so the teachers have to be able to make plans and for each of those individual children. And that's where things need to start. And that means planning beginning as soon as possible. You can't make plans the day after school starts. Teachers have to know what the resources are going to be and have to know how they're going to handle that. And we have to then take a look at all those plans and what the people who are at that school know that school needs. And then we may have to make some hard decisions about the fact that fair doesn't mean the same for everybody. Equitable doesn't mean everybody gets exactly the same. We may have to make some decisions that help balance out some of the challenges that are facing some of our schools. And again, I know that is a very hard thing to do. I did the same thing with teachers on that level, and I think we have to do it at the district level as well in order to reach, to be as equitable as possible.
So
We are only as strong as our weakest link. Information should be passed down to the lowest level. And those are two things that are very important in the military. If a general comes into a unit and we're about to go on a mission, they're gonna ask the lowest ranking soldier, what's the mission? What are we doing here? And if that soldier can't tell them, then what are we doing? So as Mr. Moore said, we wanna look at where are our schools in terms of quality of education. Looking at the budget, how can we use the budget to balance out our schools? I don't believe that, oh, because this school is over here, they're not able to achieve at a certain level as a school over here. If I'm elected on the school board, I'm going to be an advocate against that mindset. Eau Claire should be just as powerful as AC Florence. Say again, Eau Claire, C.A. Johnson should be just have the same qualification as AC Florence. So utilizing the budget and spreading it equally. Ensuring our teachers have what they need. Okay, Also ensuring that when we look at our schools, some of our schools should not be pipelines to prison. That needs to go out of the way. These young men that are not finishing school, graduating, barely able to read and write, and funding SCDC, the court system, and power attorneys, no. All that needs to stop.
So this is probably one of those questions that everyone struggles with to a degree. You know, again, I have a special needs child. My child is not going to learn the same way Mr. Devine, Mr. Diaz, or even Ms. Clyburne's child does. You know, he needs extra. Of course, there's extra programs in Title I and SPED that funds that aspect. The problem is you can't take a school out in Hopkins or Eastover that has an excellent rating and then take another school out there that may be underperforming and say that they're getting the same things. You need to ensure that the programs for the students are what is beneficial to the students and what the teachers have, and get mentors from that excellent school and have them shadow some of the underperforming schools to see what works for them. And I know that was a terrible answer. It's. It was.
So in order to achieve, equity in schools, we need to make sure our kids are starting off with the foundation that they need. And a part of that, and I mentioned it before, I may be beating a dead horse, but our early learning. The earlier we get to kids, the better their outcomes are, the better their academic performance will be. And that's proven. So we can't sit here and say how bad our schools are, how low our grades are. You hear it over and over and over. But if you're ignoring the elephant in the room and saying that we don't need an early learning center, then I feel that you shouldn't be running for school board. You shouldn't be anywhere near a schoolhouse if you can't recognize that. So that's one thing that I want to say. Now, the other thing, we have issues in our communities. So the equity part of it, you know, we need to come together, and we do a great job. I think our Girl Scout organization here is involved in our schools already, but we need other partners to make sure that you know, the level of violence in our communities, in some of our communities, just decreases at an extreme level, at a great level, so that we can have better outcomes in our schools as well. Thank you.
So when we talk about equity throughout the school district, what we've done in the past is, as mentioned earlier, we prioritize that in our budget. So I typically got Title I schools, those schools that need additional assistance, we do provide those additional assistance for our teachers, for our staff, math interventionists, reading interventionists for those young people. I think Dr. Moore and Dr. Hersey knows as well, being former principals, how that works throughout the system. So we got to ensure that our young people get what they need, whether it's an extra dose of tutoring, whether it's after school, after care, after school. Those are some of the things and some of the priorities that we have. We also have to bring in our community. We have about 400 partners across Richland School District 1. We want to continue to leverage that relationship and those partnerships. We want to continue to see that even grow even more. There's some other organizations who reached out to the faith-based community over the last several years to bring them in now. We have a number of civic organizations across this district. And so again, that equity piece really makes a difference for us. And we've seen that growth over the last several years. And so finally, Ms. Clyburne just hit on it. Some of our communities have some external forces or external obstacles, if you will. For example, community violence. For example, homelessness. For example, chronic absenteeism. And then, for example, we also have high poverty rate. Those aren't excuses, but those are factors in our school district. So when we look at equity across the district, we got to ensure that we address, as Dr. Hersey said earlier, the entire child, the whole child.
Thank you.
I like the question. I think it's one that we all here, can agree on. As soon as my son started, at Central Ford, I jumped in and wanted to help, as much as possible in any way that I could. Watchdog program, lunch buddies, SIC, I'm the president of the SIC at my school now. My mom is a teacher at Bradley. I volunteer, over at Bradley, and it takes a community to do that. I would love to, at a SIC meeting or any of our volunteer efforts, to have this many people want to volunteer to say, hey, actually, we can't take you because we already have too many. And so it takes a community effort. And I'll tell you what's been disheartening for me in this campaign is in some of the, so I went over to the North Main area and went over there to get my name out there and hear what the community had to say. And believe it or not, I was attacked for going into the community for saying that I was taking advantage. And when I went into that community, I got praise. I had people that prayed with me and I said, you know what? No one does this. No one comes into the community to do what you just did. Instead of you telling me, you want to hear what I have to say. And so external force we're talking about, that's something else too, that not to make people look bad, that they're coming into because they want to do something better. Thank you.
As a school principal, you always have to make big decisions. And even though the district gives you a certain amount of money to fund the building or general fund activities or things in the building, you have to decide if you're gonna assist certain departments more than others. That's where the equity piece comes in. So as a district, we need to do some sort of needs assessment to really evaluate the needs of the schools as a whole and in different programs, and then go in to work with those schools to make sure that they have what they need for students to be successful. You cannot always give every school the same amount of funding, but some areas will indeed need more. An example would be Hayward Career Center. If that is going to be a career center that's going to prepare students for the workforce, everything that those students have over there, what they're working on, needs to be top notch. There should not be a reason where the welding program or the carpentry program doesn't have equipment that they're using in the workforce here in the building, because we have to train them and prepare them to leave the building. And so I do know that equity is something difficult. People struggle with it. But if you do a needs assessment and you have the data to support the decisions that you're making and you're transparent, then the community, the parents, the business partners will be okay with what you're doing. So just making sure we assess everybody, needs assessment, and share and be transparent with the decisions that we make.
Okay, last question before the closing statements. Ms. Williams, we're gonna have 1 minute for this question, okay? What question do you wish we had asked you, and what would your response be?
I won't hear for all of the questions, but I will piggyback to something that Mr. Diaz said, and a question about transparency. Because I believe that the community was not upset that he came to North Main. I think the deeper issue was there were people in the community that had seen some things that he had posted on his social media about women, also women in this country who mean a lot to people, African-American women that he had on his social media page, and cleared it and deleted it before he ran for this office. So the question about transparency, it comes from a place of who you are every day, all day, when nobody is watching. I didn't clear a thing on my social media page before running for this office. You all can scroll all the way back to next year, read whatever I have to say. Okay, so when we're looking at candidates, we want to make sure we have people that, especially at this point in our history, have respect for women.
Okay, thank you.
Can I get you to repeat the question just to make sure I got it?
Sure. So for 1 minute, what question do you wish we had asked you, and what would your response be?
That's a tough one because there's been so many different things. I think probably for me, it would be have you ever had internal auditor do an investigation and find you did wrongdoing in the district? And my answer would be no.
Okay, the question I wish I was asked, you alluded to it in our opening statement, but I feel, what is the real reason we're running for this office? The real reason I'm running for this office is to make sure our kids have what they need for the success of their future. Some other people may be running because they're backed by special interest groups and organizations for an end game. And that end game, I believe, is disinvesting in certain areas in our district, which will have an adverse effect on our students and their progress, for their futures.
So the one question that I wish we could have asked is, what is your future for Richland School District 1 and what does that look like? So I'll expound on that just a little bit. So one of those things is increasing apprenticeship and internships across the board. We know that that's so important for our young people as they get ready to finish high school and go on to the workforce, college, or some type of career. Then the second thing is we will see an increase in social emotional learning, have mental health support and students as well as staff. We want to continue to see that increase. And also we will see an increase of social workers and mental health counselors throughout our district. I will say I was proud to raise my hand along with Ms. Clyburn to increase that, those persons in our school district, because we see the need. We see particularly after this pandemic, after COVID, what that need is. And then thirdly, we want to continue to expand our extracurricular opportunities as well as exposure to community programming for our young people. In other words, we want to make sure that our young people are exposed to a whole bunch of things other than what's happening with those 7 hours throughout the school day. Jamie Devine, Richland 1, seat 2. Thank you.
Out of all the forums, with it being such a hot topic issue, none of us, unless there's one that I missed, the Vince Sports Center wasn't really brought up. And believe it or not, there's a sitting Congressman, Jim Clyburn, who's making calls potentially with our tax dollars, making calls specifically in the lower Richland area because I'm one of his constituents and I didn't get that call. Saying that his memory is being tarnished. No, if it was done the correct way, maybe that would have been better, but it was complete oversight, done completely wrong way, things trying to be done under the table, and then people getting upset because they got caught. That's not how that works. So what I'd like to see about getting done is the houses that were impacted, those people need to be made whole. And we need to completely redo that project. Thank you.
The question I wish someone would have asked is, why am I running? I'm running for Richland 1 School Board because I'm a parent, I'm an educator, and I'm a community member. And I have the students and the community's best interest at heart. I worked my way up from a substitute teacher to principal and district level administrator. And so I feel that I thoroughly understand the inner workings of the district. I feel as though as a board member, I will know when information is not being shared completely. I will be able to see through what is not being shared and have a thorough understanding of what information is missing. And so I'm running as a candidate for Richland 1 School Board because I feel I have the students' best interests at heart. And I want to work hard to make sure that we continue to build on the legacy that Richland 1 has and take it to where we know that it can be. Thank you.
The question I wish I had been asked is what have I learned in this process? And, I've learned a lot of stuff about the fact that there seems to be a big misconception about what nonpartisanship means. But the thing that I've learned that I would say that has been most meaningful to me is getting the opportunity to meet people throughout the city of Columbia, throughout Richland District 1, in every single community that I went to, community meeting that I went to, meeting people who care about their schools. They want to make sure that what's happening is best, and different ones of them had different concerns, which is how it should be, because no two of them are the same. But it just reaffirmed for me, I had dealt with my school's communities. I had dealt with the community I live in. I had dealt with the community and where I go to church and serve there. But I had the chance to see a lot of all the other communities as well and find out what it is people are concerned about and know who I can depend on to help make things better.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to do closing statement. We have 1 minute, and we'll start with Mr. Black.
So again, my name is John Black. I'm running for one of the 2 at-large seats. You know, I've been a community leader for many years. I've been SIC chairs at multiple schools. I've been principal for a day. I've served on the calendar committee. I've been a judge for Teacher of the Year. And it was all a great opportunity to expose me to all the different schools and resources within Richland 1. And that makes me proud that I'm up here as a candidate to move forward and potentially be a greater advocate for our communities. As Mr. Moore has said many times, the great thing about being an at-large candidate is you're not confined to a particular area. I love being able to spread my wings, get out in the communities and talk to people, and the grassroots support and endorsements I've received has just been amazing, and I'm looking forward to taking office. And shout out to Miss Allie, who's here, who's retiring after 37 fantastic years of dedicated service. With this campaign.
Thank you so much. Angela Clyburn here, running for re-election for my at-large seat, not my at-large seat, for the at-large seat for Richland District 1 School Board. In my closing, I would just like to state that being responsible with your words, being responsible and accountable to the people and to our students and educators in this district is of utmost importance. You know, grabbing a hold to the disinformation out there on social media and then trying to make it news is not responsible. Trying to mislead the public about the reality of what is going on in our district is not responsible. I knew Vince Ford. I would never do anything to tarnish his name. But there are certain things that people do not want to see happen in our district. And, you know, when the ball is moved, it hurts. It hurts our kids. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you again. I'm Jamie Devine, running for Richland School District 1, Seat 2. It's been my pleasure to attend these forums over the last several months. Looking forward to asking for your continued support for another term to continue prioritizing student achievement, continue to increase our safety and security for our students, and then finally continue to offer public school choice across Richland 1 to ensure that all of our students get whatever options and opportunities that they need so that, again, they can reach their dreams and their potential. Thank you so much. Again, Jamie Devine, Richland School District 1, Seat 2.
There were some things said about agendas and all that. The agenda that I have are the children. I have a son in the district, 2nd grade, belongs to a wonderful school. And I know that not all schools are built that way. And so that's where we need to go. We need to go into the schools that are having a hard time, figure out what's going on and come up with a solution. When the school year started and I was there celebrating the teachers, welcoming back, I was the only father there. And a conversation was had with teachers, administrators, and community members that said, hey, this opportunity is coming up and we want change. That's why y'all are here. Because if y'all were happy with status quo, you wouldn't be here in this room. You would have said, I know who I'm going to vote for. Things are going great. The administration and the schools couldn't be better. I love everything that's going on. I'm gonna stay home. I already know who I voted for. And that's not the case. You're here because you want change. And there are some great, excellent candidates that can bring about change.
I'm Erica Hurston, and I told my campaign team that I will continue to run a clean campaign. I'm not going to throw jabs at anyone as though they have been jabbed at me. I must make a statement. I do have a pending lawsuit. If I could sue Dr. Witherspoon and Cheryl Harris, I would sue just them. But unfortunately, it comes as a district. And no, I'm not going to drop my lawsuit because what was done to me was inappropriate, and I'm not going to discuss the details of my lawsuit at this forum. Number two, the FOIA request that Mr. Black requested was made public only because someone FOIA'd his FOIA to see what information he was trying to gain on me. If you read the memo in its entirety, there was nothing I did illegal. There was no money squandered out of the school system. If so, I would not have been able to retire and earn my full benefits for retirement. And so I'm coming to you as a professional educator to do what is right by students in the community and to lead Richland 1 to the level at which I know it can go. I ask for your support for those of you that live in C4, Erica Hurst. Thank you.
My name is Richard Moore, and I'm running for an at-large seat on the Richland County School District 1 Board of School Commissioners. I've been with Richland 1 since first grade. I've been a student, a parent, a teacher, an administrator at both the district and the school level, volunteer, SIC member, and currently am a grandparent with 7 grandchildren in the district and 1 that just graduated from the district. So I've seen the district from a lot of sides, including as being a taxpayer for my entire life within this school district. I have one agenda. My agenda is to serve Richland District 1 on the board as the administration moves forward in providing safe, nurturing, challenging, and effective classrooms for all teachers and students and all schools. I'd like to help create that vision, share that vision, help hold people accountable for that vision, and champion it wherever I can.
I'm Krista Williams, running for School District 1, School Board Seat 2. Many of you all may know this is my 4th run for office, and it won't be my last. One of the things is, one of the most important things to me is being a community advocate and ensuring that each of you know what is really going on. Clarity. You hear a lot of people telling you different things. I don't believe there's a single person on this stage, and I have been to Ms. McPherson, no, this is what, my 3rd or 4th forum. I don't believe there's a single person that I have sat on one of these forums with that honestly don't have the best interest of whatever branch of government, in this case, the school district and the children, as their best interest at heart. Everybody up here does, to include you. But you gotta look at the facts. Start looking at who is funding these candidates. Start looking at, because we got candidates up here that have pure intentions and may be paying for their own campaigns, but you got to start looking at who is funding it, because it doesn't matter what intentions they may have. Whoever is behind the scenes, those are going to be the people or groups that are really controlling the intentions. I'm Krista Williams.
Okay, one short announcement here. We just heard from Angela Brown. She was just released from the hospital, and so she could not be here tonight. So that's why she isn't here. I want to take, this concludes our forum, and I'd like to thank the Columbia Chamber for organizing, supporting, and publicizing the event, and the director of the, Carl will speak on that.
Thank you. On behalf of the chamber, I just want to say thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. Really appreciate it, support it. And for those who joined us this afternoon, really appreciate it as well. Good luck next Tuesday. I know the end is near and y'all are excited about that. It's been a long race, but we appreciate your engagement and what y'all do for the kids. So thank y'all for your afternoon.